Hi guys, it's Max from HighOnAndroid.com, where we get on Android every day. Anyway, for those of you new to my channel, I daily drive 2 different phones every week and tell you my thoughts on it. Alright, for this whole week, I've been daily driving the OnePlus 3T and the Le Pro 3. Now, overall, I would have to really give the win to the OnePlus 3T. I simply used it more. The only time where the Le Pro 3 was better was in using Periscope, a live video app. I think it's because the way Periscope video settings are. For some reason, the Periscope app sucks on most Android phones, but works really well on the Le Pro 3. I really use this phone most of the time. Just my hands went more to it. So let's actually just go ahead and talk about the OnePlus 3T, and we'll do a full review of this, my thoughts on every little nitty gritty of this phone. Let's go do this, baby. Alright, before I begin, you're not going to find some awesome, fancy, schmancy sliding shots or anything like that in this video. If you want to see that, go check out some other people's videos. My review is going to be purely focused on what I thought of this phone. Different aspects of it, such as performance, battery life, sound, microphone, all that really important stuff. So let's first go ahead and talk about the design. The feel in the hands. I absolutely love the design. It's an all-metal unibody design. OnePlus did an excellent job of keeping very thin profile on this phone with very good all-metal unibody that cools to the touch. I have absolutely nothing bad to say about it, other than the fact that the design isn't exactly original. There's a lot of copying from other smartphone design. It's not unique in any way. I mean, something like an S7 Edge, you get that nice, unique, curved edge look. This is sort of like, looks like every other budget smartphone on the market. I mean, with that said, but it still feels great in the hands. I have nothing actually bad about the design. I think I actually did a great job. There is an extra button you will not find in other Android smartphones, which is the silent to ring to do not disturb, and you can also program this button to do whatever you want. I find that very handy because you can have your phone off and you can put your phone to silent or do not disturb when you go to sleep. Alright, let's talk about probably the #1 reason you would buy the OnePlus 3T. Aside from being $439 for the 64GB version, it actually has the fastest performance in benchmarks, 160,000 on Antutu, which is pretty much unheard of for an Android smartphone. It's basically the fastest phone in the world. If you absolutely wanted the fastest phone in the world, this is it. I mean, regardless that it costs half the cost of an S7 Edge, this is faster than your Galaxy S7 Edge. It's faster than the Pixel. Even though it does have the same chip, it's clocked higher. It's got the Snapdragon 821. I mean, I'm really amazed with the performance. I've had 0 issues. The UI is very pure Android-like Nexus phones, like Pixel phones. OnePlus has added their gestures, shortcuts, little things, features here and there. But overall, you get that pure Android feel. It's not been botched over completely changed over like Samsung or LG. It's not botched over like the Le Pro 3. I really hate the UI on the Le Pro 3. Or like Huawei phones, they have their own skin. I really like that they didn't really change much from stock Android, which makes it very nice. The UI doesn't actually slow down the phone. Games run fast. If you absolutely need the fastest performance, this is definitely it. There's no way around it. Alright, next let's go ahead and talk about connectivity on this phone. Now this is a GSM phone for US consumers like myself. That means you can use it on AT&T or T-Mobile. 4G LTE is supported for all the bands for AT&T and T-Mobile. So you get very nice 4G LTE speeds. It also supports 4G LTE Advanced. On T-Mobile, I was able to get 4G LTE Advanced most of the time. And I'm actually getting 4G LTE Plus right now as of this moment. So very good stuff. And if you're on T-Mobile, you need Wi-Fi calling. This phone also supports Wi-Fi calling. Even supports VoLTE, Voice over LTE. And it's working great. Alright, phone quality is very, very good. A pretty good microphone. Also it has dual SIM slot. It doesn't have a micro SD card, but you can put 2 nano SIM cards. So that means if you're a globetrotter, you travel often to other countries, You can leave your main SIM in, keep receiving your voice calls from your home country. You can get prepaid to get fast data speeds for LTE in another country, because I do have T-Mobile, which gives you free edge speeds in other countries, but it's not really usable if you do any kind of business, so you'll probably want to get a prepaid. It's great that it's a dual SIM phone. Then you can use dual SIMs. Alright, but a lot of you might not need that feature, so I feel like that is a feature made for maybe Chinese people. Alright, next let's talk about the sound on this. I'll go ahead and play some Pandora real quick, just for a few seconds. And sound is very, very loud, very good. It's not super loud or anything like that, but it's, you know, it's definitely above average. You will not have a problem with the sound. There's only one mono speaker at the bottom. It's not a dual stereo speaker, but for listening to Pandora when I walk my dog, it works perfectly fine. That's not a huge problem with this phone. Alright, next let's talk about the fingerprint sensor. It is actually the fastest fingerprint sensor, front fingerprint sensor I have ever used. You try doing this on the Galaxy S7 Edge and it will start lagging like crazy. But I can do this all day, and I actually prefer fingerprint sensor on the back of the phone, like a Nexus 6P Pixel or even the Pro 3 or Huawei. But I've realized the fingerprint sensor works so well on this. This is probably my favorite phone when it comes to the fastest front fingerprint sensor. And for those of you who use your phone on the desk often, maybe you just leave it on the desk and you want to unlock it without doing your swipe or code, this phone may be perfect for those of you who do that a lot. I don't do that much. I usually use the phone with it in my hands. If you tend to work and leave your phone on the desk, it is really fast how they implement this. So I really love the fact that fingerprint sensor works really fast. Next, let's talk about the display itself. 1080p AMOLED display. It is brighter than the Google Pixel phone. That's amazing. By slight. It's actually one of the brightest AMOLED screens other than Samsung Galaxy S7 Edge. If you want absolute brightest screens, you'll want to go with the Samsung Galaxy S7 Edge. Now, very, very good viewing angles. Display is very crisp. Now, the only thing I don't like about it, the fact that it has only 1080p. As an early adapter, as a American who watches a lot of YouTube in 1440p, and I have no problems. I have pretty much free Wi-Fi. I've got like 120 megs down on Comcast Business, which means I can stream pretty much unlimited all day long. I've also got unlimited on T-Mobile. Even when I'm on the go, I can still watch everything in 1440p. Because everything's free for me. If you're in that boat and you enjoy higher resolution, you're going to be disappointed with 1080p. Simply 1080p on a 5.5 inch is just isn't enough. You'll be able to notice a huge difference between 1080p and 1440p. I believe this is because the way these phones are designed for. This phone is really designed for the China market first. A lot of the Chinese phones, they are designed for the China market first. Look at Huawei Mate 9, look at this phone, look at the Leica, the Pro 3. A lot of these Chinese manufacturers, I'm including China, Taiwan, Hong Kong as one China, they really design for their Chinese customers first. So I feel like as an American, it's just not there. And maybe they're competing against iPhones. A lot of iPhone users, they're still on 1080p, while a lot of Android users have been enjoying 1440p content. Now, another thing to note, in China, in mainland China, you cannot watch YouTube because it's been blocked. All right, even if you use proxy, that's going to slow it down. You're not going to be able to enjoy that 1440p. But I live in a country where it is free. I can watch all the 1440p content I want. Now, a lot of reviewers won't say this, but I tend to be very truthful and honest. And honestly, 1080p sucks. Alright, and most Android games these days actually support 1440p. So if you have 1440p resolution, you'll be able to actually enjoy those games in 1440p. I know a lot of gamers, a lot of people who watch YouTube, and now Netflix also supports up to 4K. If you subscribe and watch a lot of those content, you're going to be simply disappointed. And I'm going to be completely honest with you, a lot of these companies from China, OnePlus, Huawei, all of these guys, look at their latest flagship phones. they don't have 1440p. And it saddens me because their phones are mainly made for Chinese customers that are probably don't have 1440p content. I don't know if you live in China mainland or live in Hong Kong or Taiwan. Do tell me if you guys actually have content higher than 1080p. I know that's the same thing in Korea, where Samsung and LG's from. They actually don't have any 1440p content yet either. Yet when Koreans make phones, Samsung and LG phones, all the flagships have 1440p. The reason is that I know as a Korean American, they want to succeed in the US market because it's a bigger market than Korea. So they try to cater to the Americans first and then to their own people. Which is funny because I don't think there's actually any 1440p content in Korea. Yet they're making these 1440p phones. Alright? It also has to do with virtual reality. I know Samsung phones have 1440p because VR looks way better, twice better on 1440p. And that's the issue with these budget Chinese phones. They're really made for Chinese consumers first and then the Americans. And I'm not gonna buy a phone that's not made for me, you know, for Americans, because I'm Korean American and, you know, everything I do here is America based. I know a lot of you are watching this from India or even China or wherever, but as a person living in the US, that 1440p is pretty important for me. And even people who live here, maybe you have shitty Wi-Fi, you have no Wi-Fi, maybe you're just, you know, relying on your data service and you just can't afford unlimited Wi-Fi, or you're on a carrier like Verizon, maybe you're on a carrier that doesn't support unlimited, then yeah, I guess you're stuck watching 1080p. But I'm an early adapter. I like having the latest and best. I have the fastest Wi-Fi I can get here. I've got unlimited 4G LTE. I have absolutely no reason to watch anything below 1080p. But I think if Chinese manufacturers really want to take it up another notch, instead of just increasing the performance, increasing the memory, and making better storage, forget all that dual SIM. Most of us in the US actually don't need dual SIM. Performance gains on 820 is pretty good, but I mean, it's not noticeably better than 810. The number one thing that is missing from OnePlus 3T or any of these Chinese phones is basically 1440p resolution. I know there's going to be like 100 comments tomorrow from people in countries that don't watch 1440p because they have no 1440p saying, yeah, we don't care. Yeah, that's good. That's good. If that's not an issue, great. Get this phone. Apart from the display, it has the fastest performance, great display, also great battery life. Speaking about battery life is excellent on the OnePlus 3T. It's been upgraded from the 3000 milliamp hour from the regular 3 to 3400 milliamp hour. Couple that with a very efficient AMOLED display. Now in general, phones with AMOLED displays have like 20 to 30% better battery life than phones with LCD. Not always, most of the time that is the case, and AMOLED screens will give you that extra battery life. Also, it is a lot brighter than LCD. LCD technology have been sort of, you know, falling behind, and I think that's good that the OnePlus 3T has an AMOLED display. Alright, let's talk about the back camera. Pretty good in bright light. Is not as good as all the best of the latest. I would say the best smartphones this year that came out, the Google Pixel probably has the best absolute camera, followed by the S7 Edge. Also excellent overall camera, but compared to that, this will not stand up, especially in low light. In bright light, you're going to do very, very well. It's a very good bright light camera. Same thing for the front camera. It's got 16 megapixel. Now, having more megapixels doesn't mean you're going to get better photos. You will get more resolution, all right? Especially in bright light, the more resolution means good. But when you have more megapixels, that means the sensor pixel size gets smaller, which means it's going to actually perform worse in low light. That is why I'm using the Sony a7S II right now, which is only a 12 megapixel camera, but it does a ton better than the Sony a7R II, which is a 42 megapixel camera, just because the pixel size is 4 times bigger. All right, so the front camera not going to give you great photos or videos in low light. Neither the back, compared to absolute best phones on the market right now, but it's decent. It definitely keeps up. There's also HQ mode, which I extensively tested, and gets you almost near the pixel. It's sort of a noise reduction algorithm, but again, it's not going to give you that crisp photos. There's physical limitations with the small camera sensor size on the OnePlus 3T. So if you absolutely want the best photos out of a smartphone, this is simply not going to cut it. But for under 500 bucks, yeah, I mean, it is one of the best that you can get for 500 bucks. And I know a lot of you are not too crazy about taking low light photos, or perhaps you don't even take any photos, then it shouldn't be a problem. Also, video stabilization is excelente. It's actually one of the best for taking videos in bright light, good light. Gonna be very good. But go look at the other 100 reviews on the camera. It's simply not gonna keep up in low light, but it's gonna definitely keep up with all the best in bright light. But camera is one thing I will not buy this phone for, because simply it's not the best at it. But for family photos and videos, it's probably not going to matter too much, and plus you can always use a flashlight or an extra light to solve that problem. Next, let's talk about the dash charger. Now the dash charger, go look at what's that YouTuber, SuperSaf TV. He has a test video that shows how fast this charges versus quick charge, and it does charge like slightly faster, like 2 or 3% faster, but there's not a huge difference between dash charge, which uses 5 volts, versus quick charge, which uses 9 volts or 12 volts. So you're not going to see a huge difference, but the biggest difference for me as a consumer, who I've already bought a bunch of Dr.E and Anker quick charge adapters for my car, for my AC wall. It's a huge problem because the dash charge is not compatible with quick charge 2.0 or 3.0, which means I'm going to have to replace my car charger. I'm going to have to get new chargers to just support this phone. While everybody in Android world is using Quick Charge 2.0 or 3.0, this is the only phone that decides to use, we're gonna use our own dash technology. So in terms of compatibility, OnePlus got their own thing, and for people like myself who already invested into quick charge infrastructure, but it does recharge really fast so long as you use a dash charger. It shouldn't be too huge so long as you keep using OnePlus, which I believe they're going to keep using dash charger for future OnePlus phones. Alright, next let's talk about customer support, repairability index. OnePlus is obviously not a mainstream phone. If you buy this phone and break it, you'll probably be able to afford another one. You're probably not going to want to repair it because it's such a cheap phone. I mean, for example, you walk into your local smartphone repair. I'm going to be able to bring my Galaxy S7 Edge and I'll be like, I broke the screen, can you replace it? They're going to say yes. For grandmas and grandpas or people who are not techies, you don't know how to fix your phone. If you get a phone that's a flagship like an LG, Samsung, Motorola, you're going to be able to get it repaired easily and quickly for the lowest cost. For something like this, especially in the US, you're not going to be able to replace the screen. I mean, if you can, do enlighten me, but not at local shops. They're going to not even know what this phone is. Also, I don't know how the customer support is, but I know you got to send this back. It's mostly online, so that could be a huge problem for those of you who do a lot of stuff retail, not online. So that's something to think about. Or I would totally use a very thick case. You absolutely do not break the screen or break anything on this phone. Be a very careful consumer. I mean, unless you're like an MKBHD, you're already probably making millions off reviewing smartphones. You should really not use your phone naked. Like, why would I use a phone naked? I don't. You know, I own a lot of these phones, and I absolutely make sure I don't break it. I have insurance on a lot of these phones. Still, I make sure I don't ever break it if I drop it. And a lot of people want to use their phone naked, including my mom. And my mom broke the screen on her phone, and then she had this big-ass crack and been using it for a whole year. And I'm like, how come you don't replace the screen? She's like, been lazy, or she doesn't know how, you know? So don't go in that boat. If you're going to use a phone like this, just use a big thick case. It'll prevent 9 out of 10 screen shatters. Just do something to think about. Customer service obviously is not going to be something like a mainstream phone. This is not a mainstream phone. Now let's talk about rooting this phone. For those of you who don't know what root is basically getting admin access to your phone. and you can go ahead and change the Android software with different custom OS, which will give you additional new features. Now this phone is actually perfect for that, along with the Google phones, the Google Pixel, Google Nexus. OnePlus is actually even one step better than Google, because this phone started as the first Cyanogen mod phone, the OnePlus One, and basically rooting this phone doesn't void warranty, while it voids warranty for everything else, including Google, Samsung, LG. So this is the only phone in the world, I don't know, Xiaomi does it, but that I know that you can root and keep your warranty. It's a rootable phone. The OnePlus company actually offers you multiple other custom ROMs you can install on this, and they actually have an active forum. So if you want to root and install custom ROMs, this is one of the best phones to do it. Okay, let's wrap up this phone. So who is this phone for? All right. Number one, if you absolutely do not need 1440p, you're okay with 1080p, this is an excellent phone. Also, you don't want to spend more than $500. Third, you want to get the fastest processor, Snapdragon 821, right now as of this video. Plus, you want to get the most RAM, 6 gigs of RAM. No one else has 6 gigs of RAM on their Android smartphone. If you need all that, definitely this is a phone to go for. Great battery life, customizable. There are some missing stuff like micro SD card, waterproofing, not the best camera in the world. Customer support is probably not going to be, anywhere near flagship phones. But for $439 for the 64GB version, it's a very good phone. I mean, I can certainly say this is the best smartphone you can buy under $500. Plus, I do root for the underdogs. This sort of a, startup company that was a startup company, now doing sort of well, is nowhere like Huawei, LG, or Samsung. At the same time, they're trying to give consumers a lower price phones with all the best specs. They left out the 1440p. But other than that, it's not a bad. Now, I do wish they come out with premium version of OnePlus, maybe with 1440p, with the most awesome camera in the world. And then I would definitely want to use it. I have all the best smartphones in the world. There's absolutely no reason for me to use this when I have the LG V20, I have the S7 Edge, I have the Pixel XL available to me. But I did this review for you guys. This is my honest thoughts about the phone, the company, the culture, all that stuff. So hopefully this review has helped you become smarter in purchasing your next smartphone. And yeah, I do recommend it, so long as you adhere to some of the things I talked about. Well, personally, I would like a 1440p screen. I don't know how many times I said that this video, but probably a lot. Anyway, have a great day, folks. Don't forget to hit the thumbs up. If you want to check out my previous daily driver videos, definitely check it out in the video below, or you should be able to hit it somewhere after this video. Have a great day, folks, and as always, stay on Android.
Click here to subscribe.